sweetheart, this entire lawsuit is a waste of court resources.
Blake's image is now trashed, so now she wants to kind of pull back.
And honestly, Justin has not been treated fairly.
Justin Baldoni's legal team is calling out Blake Lively in a major way, and they're not mincing words. According to a letter sent to a judge on Tuesday, Baldoni's lawyers accuse Lively of trying to keep key evidence hidden from the public. They claim she's attempting to shield documents and information from public view by pushing for an enhanced protective order. And let's just say, they're not buying it.
But on the 20th, which was I think last Friday, Blake's team filed for a slightly modified type of protection order that would include increased protections to third parties. Now, we covered this filing. I told you that essentially what was buried in it was what I would describe as the Taylor Swift clause. I'm just calling it the Taylor Swift clause, essentially allowing the respective lawyers to just deem anything that they want, attorney's eyes only, right?
Lively is suddenly pushing for secrecy. She wants the evidence to be available to the attorney's eyes only. But Baldoni's team finds it highly ironic that someone who's been so vocal about her accusations in the media now wants to keep evidence under wraps. They argue that this isn't really about safety, it's about controlling the story and protecting a reputation that's already been dragged into the spotlight.
And I'm going to show you what they said. They said, given how actively the Lively parties have publicized and litigated Ms. Lively's claims in the media, we are surprised to now learn how vehemently she wants to prevent the public from accessing material and relevant evidence.
The legal battle intensified when it was revealed that when Lively first filed her lawsuit in December, she and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, allegedly handed over an otherwise confidential administrative complaint to the New York Times. And Baldoni's lawyers are not letting that slide. According to them, this so-called confidential information included thousands of pages of original documents, text messages, and emails, stuff that was never meant to see the light of day. Yet, Lively's camp had no problem handing it over to the media. Now, she suddenly wants to keep key evidence sealed from public view? Baldoni's team is calling BS, arguing that if Lively was truly worried about protecting sensitive details, why would she leak so much to the press in the first place?
The Lively parties provided the New York Times with Ms. Lively's otherwise confidential administrative complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Department and thousands of pages of original documents, including text messages and emails. So that's kind of like a pretty strong argument because they're saying, we'd just like to remind the public that it was clearly her team who leaked private text messages.
But here's where things get even shadier. Because this isn't the first time Blake Lively's team has been accused of trying to cover something up, they also tried to bury a recording of an interview with her agent, Gary Emanuel. But it got leaked.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' powerful super agent appeared on a podcast explaining why he believed Blake Lively instead of Justin Baldoni, is how he called it. And then something odd happened. The podcast didn't get recorded. Neither the audio nor the YouTube video, both just miraculously didn't get recorded. Well, turns out it did.
Now, that raises a lot of questions. Why would Lively's team want that recording to disappear? And more importantly, what was said in that interview that had them scrambling to keep it hidden? Well, the leaked recording is here, and you're about to hear it for yourself.
Let the record show for those listening at home, Ari just slit his throat. I mean, it's a fucked up, bad situation that Baldoni, whatever his name is doing, and his part of it. Now, he was your client too, until recently. Until I fired him. Right.
As if the situation wasn't dramatic enough, Ryan Reynolds decided to add some fuel to the fire. And he did it on national television. During Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special, Reynolds cracked a joke about the whole ordeal, turning a serious lawsuit into late-night comedy. But Justin Baldoni's team is not laughing.
That's awesome. Who else? Who else has a question?
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Baldoni's lawyers are furious, calling Reynolds' SNL moment a planned skit designed to publicly humiliate Baldoni while they're fighting to prove that Lively is deliberately hiding key evidence. And while Reynolds claims that he meant it as a joke, Baldoni's camp sees it as something way more calculated. A strategic move to sway public opinion and downplay the case.
Worst of all, in a planned skit on NBC's Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special, which attracted 15 million viewers, Miss Lively's husband Ryan Reynolds stood up and made a joke about her claims for sexual harassment and emotional distress. Yeah, it's a pretty strong argument. Now you're saying like anything being revealed to the public would be too much, but weren't you guys the one that like made like a whole movie?
Now, this battle isn't just happening in the courtroom, it's playing out in the media, on social platforms, and even on SNL. And with Reynolds openly mocking not just Justin Baldoni, but his wife too, it just makes everything way more messier.
They're saying you want some stuff to remain private, like those names and, other stuff to do with the case, but then you're gonna go as public as possible and do a joke on SNL's big night, the 50th anniversary, and the joke then is kind of about, is it about sexual abuse then? Because that's what your wife's laughing, laughing.
Blake Lively's legal team isn't backing down, and they're making it clear why they want certain details kept under wraps. In their latest motion, they argue that this case involves high-profile figures and serious allegations of sexual harassment, meaning exposing certain information could put key witnesses in danger.
I also find it interesting that they're trying to pretend that it's a case, that they're essentially trying to protect people who may have been victimized by sexual harassment, when it was actually Blake Lively in that initial filing that said everything but the name, right? Like when she was trying to imply, like wink, wink, I'm not gonna name Lily Bloom. She was like pulling the Kanye, I'm not gonna say who it was, and then she just says it.
They're not just throwing out hypotheticals either. Lively's team claims she, her family, and even cast members from the It Ends With Us set have already been hit with violent, profane, sexist, and downright threatening messages. With tensions this high, they believe an enhanced protective order is necessary to prevent things from spiraling even further. But it's interesting how that same concern didn't seem to apply when it came to Justin Baldoni. When rumors about him started swirling, there was no hesitation in letting that information spread, no worry about how it might affect his safety or reputation. Now, with serious allegations in play, Lively's team is pushing for an enhanced protective order to prevent things from getting worse. But when the narrative wasn't about her, that same level of caution didn't seem to matter. Blake Lively isn't just fighting a legal battle, she's fighting to control the narrative. In her amended complaint, she paints a gut-wrenching picture of personal suffering, describing how the non-stop online abuse has left her feeling trapped, isolated, and emotionally drained. Some days, she claims, the attacks are so intense that even getting out of bed feels impossible. But let's be real, does that line up with how she and her husband have been acting? Because from the outside, there's been no shortage of smiles, public appearances, and even jokes. If the situation is as devastating as she describes, why doesn't it show? Lively's team insists this has taken a serious toll on his mental health, physical well-being, and even his career. But we all have seen Ryan cracking jokes, keeping up with business ventures, and moving like nothing's wrong.
But I think Justin's team makes a really good point. I think he at no point was, and this is kind of an issue with the whole press run for It Ends With Us, is that like he thought this was a very serious movie. And even now, Blake Lively has made these essentially very serious claims if they are true. Why are we laughing about this on SNL 50? Like, nothing about this is funny. And it's like, it's only tongue-in-cheek when seemingly Blake Lively's team wants to make it tongue-in-cheek, but like, Justin Baldoni is apparently the worst man in the world.
Right.
Like, you can't really have your cake and eat it too, sis.
It's not to downplay what they might be experiencing, but at what point does this shift from a genuine plea for protection to a calculated attempt to gain public sympathy? As Brian put it, when you're truly going through it, you don't joke about it.
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation. I can't think of anyone who's done anything like that, and so it surprised me.
The courtroom isn't just a place for legal arguments, it's a battleground for control over the entire narrative. When Blake Lively first filed her complaint, she came in swinging, aggressive, and confident, likely thinking Justin Baldoni would back down under pressure. But now that Baldoni isn't just standing his ground, he's coming up with receipts, Lively's tone has suddenly shifted. Her legal team is now pushing hard to keep certain details sealed, insisting it's about protecting key witnesses and preventing intimidation. But let's be honest, this sudden pivot to secrecy raises questions. If there's nothing to hide, why the urgency to lock things down? Baldoni's side is arguing for transparency, and let me tell you, that kind of confidence only comes from someone who believes the truth is on their side.
Attorney's eyes only is a different designation. It's essentially a request for documents that could indeed be extremely relevant to the case. And they're saying, we only want this to be shared between the attorneys, not even with the parties to the suit. So that means, Brian Friedman can see it, their lawyers can see it, but we're talking like not even Melissa Nathan or Justin Baldoni could see it because it might be very damaging to third parties.
So what changed? The way Lively is retreating after starting so aggressively makes it seem like she wasn't expecting this level of pushback. And if she's suddenly so defensive, it's fair to ask, what is she really trying to keep under wraps? One of the most controversial aspects of Blake Lively's lawsuit is her claim that other women have come forward with similar allegations against Justin Baldoni. In her amended complaint, Lively's legal team introduces anonymous testimonies from women who allegedly felt uncomfortable working with Baldoni on the set of It Ends With Us. But here's the kicker, these women are unnamed, and there's no way to verify their claims. Baldoni's lawyers are calling this out as a strategic move, arguing that anonymous allegations can't be properly challenged in court. They're pushing for full transparency, questioning why Lively's team is relying on secrecy if their case is truly solid.
That Ms. Lively's counsel and spokesperson routinely attempted to rehabilitate her tarnished image with making bold statements to the press, such as characterizing the Wayfarer parties as quote-unquote another chapter in the abuse playbook, or trying to convince the press that her amended complaint saves her meritless claims by referencing other purported victims, although she fails to name a single one.
This raises a major question. Are these real testimonies from actual victims? Or is this just another way to damage Baldoni's reputation without evidence? This Hollywood showdown is just getting started, and we'll be keeping an eye on every twist and turn. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates as this messy drama continues to unfold.